Hey, twisted people. It's your twisted girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And I am also joined here by my lovely mama, the woman who made it possible because she made me possible, Karen Robinson. She waves, yes. So today, thank you all for joining us because we are talking Evil, Season 2, Episode 12. D is for doll. And I don't know, I'm very confused. I've been confused since last episode, and that feeling of confusion, but also excitement has been prevailing. We're going to talk about it. So what we want to do is, kind of give an overview of our thoughts in terms of a review and, then talk to you all about what your thoughts are. And let's talk about some theories. I mean, next week is the season finale, and in a way it feels like a season finale, but I also feel like because so much stuff I am a little bit confused about, I don't even know where we're going towards. Like, usually with a season finale, it usually feels like, okay, we're heading to, oh my God, next everything's gonna come together. And I'm still confused about some stuff. And I'm like, well, I guess the coming together is David's coronation, right? Or maybe that's the like heightened thing that we've all been building towards this episode, even though we didn't realize we were building towards his going into priesthood and how major that might be. So we got a lot of things to talk about. It seemed like a simple enough episode, but definitely things occurred. So, first and foremost, I want to ask you all that, think about this. If you had to give this episode a grade, what would it be and why? And once again, I just want to say thank you to all of you who are joining us in the live chat and those of you who are joining us in the replay. It's always appreciated to talk these stories with you all. And if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, a like, so it, feeds the algorithm monster. YouTube is still working, so that's good. I know yesterday there were a few social media sites that were not, but we're still, it's still here, knock on wood or not, and if you want to show some super chat love, that is always appreciated, and we appreciate you all. So we got Vera joining us in the live chat. Vera's like ready to talk about the doctor getting in over his head. Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Kurt, the therapist. Oh, I love him. And we were just talking about him last live stream, weren't we? And whether or not he was in on things and things like that. So here we are. We're getting a little bit of maybe he's not in on things, y'all. And I kind of love the turn of events with him. So we'll talk about that. Zen is also joining us in the live chat. Thanks for joining us, Zen. It's always a pleasure. And Felix also joining us in the live chat. Always a pleasure as well talking to you, Felix. Zen is already giving the grade. Zen is saying grade an A because Cheryl has been revealed to becoming one of the demons, and now we know what Eddie is. Well, that's the thing, Zen. I don't know what Eddie is. I'm very confused.
Me too.
Please explain it. I am a bit confused, and in a way, I kind of appreciate the show for really taking us as smart audience to the point where they don't feel like they need to sit down and explain everything to us. But in the same regard, I'm kind of like, I wish they kind of would explain a little bit of stuff to us because David, Kristen, and Ben don't know what's going on with Cheryl. There's really no one to explain what has happened with Cheryl. So I'm just a little bit confused on stuff. But let's talk about what we think is going on and whatnot and see what's going with it. Okay, so lady, I guess I'll give my grade first since you're dealing with your light issue. It's not on?
Yeah, it's on, but it's not bright.
Did you charge it?
Yeah.
Technical difficulty, y'all. This is live television.
Oh, you see me.
Yeah, we see you. Okay, lady, if you had to give this episode a grade, what would it be and why?
Okay, I see Zan gave it an A. I gave it a B plus because the B plus, like you said, they didn't really explain that. And then now, while I was counting the dolls, I counted hers, I counted the little boy, and I'm trying, and then the doll with the man at the house. That's 3 Eddies.
3 Eddies, yes.
So somehow the dog got something to do with, with Christian. Well, somehow they need to explain that to us, how Three Dolls is, related to into this. And they need to explain the nun. I still think the nun got something. There's another part of her that she didn't explain all the way, but I think she knows something too. Like you said, it was B plus for me. It was good.
So you said it's B plus. Why not an A? Was there something you were just like, this isn't an A episode for me? What was it?
Like I said, it's with for one thing, how did they started off with the doll. I just didn't get that part about, you go up. It just didn't make no sense. You went upstairs, you see all this liquid, and then you see all this stuff in this trunk, and they got a smell. So if it wasn't nothing there, what was the smell coming from? It didn't explain that. Mm-hmm. They said something died, but when they opened the trunk and they smelled the smell in there, but you just saw the liquid at the bottom of it,
and then the doll.
Yeah, and then
it's coming from the doll. That's pretty clear. And we'll talk about that.
Like that.
We'll talk about that. And I have some ideas for what Eddie is. Just because they pretty much kind of said what he was. And I think it's a la Annabelle in that regard. If those of you who are familiar with the Conjuring universe, you know about Annabelle and what Annabelle represents. And I think that's pretty much what Eddie is representing, but we'll talk about that. Zen is saying, at first I thought he was some sort of pagan totem, but now I think it's more than that in terms of Eddie. Zen is saying, I think Eddie is a conduit for bringing people to the evil side. He gives people what they want as long as they bring him offerings, but if they refuse him, they die like that guy's wife. Perhaps if it was connected to it. See, this is the thing about, and we'll talk about it because this thing about evil, right? It sometimes leaves a lot of things vague. And when it leaves things vague, it leaves it open to interpretation. There's just a few things that are outright, okay, this is supernatural. And then a lot of the other stuff is very much, well, it could have been this and it could have been that. And I feel like that's a little bit part of that as well. Okay, so for me, I'm going to say I give this a B plus. I'm going to say B plus too. And kind of similar to your things, not so much with the Eddie situation. That's not necessarily my B plus. My B plus, the reason why it's not an A is because of the Cheryl situation, because I've been very confused about the Cheryl situation for some episodes. And I just want someone to say something and explain it, because it is still very confusing about this shift that happened with this character and where we're going and why she's into all this. I just want her to have maybe a discussion with Kristen or something. Maybe when Kristen finds out what's going on, she can ask her mom, like, where is this coming from? Why are you like this? And maybe then Cheryl can kind of explain it, because I'm not understanding Cheryl's motivation. And that has been really something for me that has made me very curious about the mystery of it. But I also think they could do a little bit better in explaining, she had that exchange and she seemed okay with it, with the first thing with Edward, when they transfused the liquid and everything. Okay, cool. Maybe she's getting his blood or something, because in the end she got a jar that had very similar stuff in it, right? That brown liquid. So maybe that's what it is. She's getting indoctrinated, but I don't know, indoctrinated with what exactly. What is Edward? What is he? It's very confusing. And I think the confusion comes from us not being able to see what exactly is Cheryl's motivation, because we have yet to have anybody, we have to get a scene where she gets to talk about her motivation and why she is doing the things she's doing. And I think it's gone on for too many episodes where we haven't gotten that. And here we are having the season finale. So that's kind of my sort of, we could have did better than that kind of thing. But with everything else, I've enjoyed it. My other caveat where I'm kind of like, okay, what the heck is going on with Ben's girlfriend? Like, it's been 2 episodes and we still haven't
said nothing about it. Ben haven't said nothing about it.
And we still haven't returned to Ben's girlfriend. Is he dealing with that? Has he just stopped dating her? There's been no real explanation. And it was kind of weird that, and with this show, sometimes things are dropped, and I'm fine with that because some of those things are just, things, and they move on to another case. With Ben's situation, though, that's his girlfriend. It's kind of hard not to address that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it does seem like, in looking at what's supposedly coming next week in the preview for next week, it seems like, as the incubus demon George was telling us, that there is all of this is culminating. Everything that has been going on is leading to whatever this moment is, right? And we don't know what this moment is, but we may be getting something. And my lady is leaving the discussion. I don't know where she's going.
I'm sorry. I had to pick up something.
Okay. Were you getting a light, lady?
Yeah.
For your phone? Yeah. Let's see. Sabeti is also in the... Sabeti is also in the thing. Hey, Sabeti. Sabeti saying, hey, everyone. Ma, just put it in front of you. It's fine.
Okay.
That's good. Whatever works. And Sabeti is also saying, is Cheryl on the side of good or evil? And Zen's answer to that is saying it's not good. She's helping Leland. But is she helping Leland? Is it Leland she's helping? Is it Edward she's helping? Is it herself that she's helping? I don't really know whose side she's on exactly. She doesn't really seem to have loyalty necessarily, but more like, other things. Like maybe her own self-interest, right? Zen is saying, I don't understand Cheryl's motives yet, but I think she was already into this stuff before Leland. That would explain why he would tell her about this exorcism even after they split. Yeah. And that's what I mean. We haven't really gotten a chance to talk to Cheryl outside of seeing her. We've seen her do a lot of things. We have yet to hear her say why she's doing those things. And for me, that has been a bit of a issue where I've just been like, I need a little bit more than just seeing her do stuff, because I don't know her motivation. I don't know where her end game is necessarily. So I don't know what I'm watching. And that's been hard for me to connect to. Although I love watching it. She's awesome watching Cheryl. Cheryl's a badass, but I'm just like, I don't know what she wants to do. And I'm very confused. Right. So yeah, I think you both, you and I, lady, I think we both agree about it being a B+ kind of vibe to it. Okay, so
but you know what? They put, if you like I said, when you saw her from the beginning with Cheryl, the mother, and how she was, and how all of a sudden after she was just sweet, she did nice things and everything. Then when she met Leland, everything started doing twisting around and everything.
And and that's the question. Is it Leland's influence on her, necessarily did when she got in a relationship with him? Did she switch?
When she broke off, it looked like she was more powerful.
It looked like she just kind of went on a darker edge. And it's kind of like, was that Leland's influence, her sleeping with him or something? Or was that always there? And this is what I mean when I say I would like an explanation. I would like to know where is this coming from? Because that's not the character she was necessarily or revealed to be in season 1. This started coming about in season 2. And so it's kind of like, what happened? When did she go from, the grandmother who likes to, be there for her daughter and stuff, to someone who worships a doll in the garage and has like some stuff going on with her? I mean, of course, yeah, maybe stuff was going on with her and Leland, but we never saw it. So it was kind of like, did he kind of bring her into the fold, or did she not realize what he was? And she did say, you're not the first demon, but we still don't know whether she meant that literally or if she meant that figuratively, right? Okay, so let's talk about what actually happened this episode, right? Sabeti is saying in the chat, was it me or did one of the 3 dolls have 2 different color eyes? I didn't catch that, but that might make sense.
Eyes.
That might make sense if Edward, our human Edward, has different color eyes. So maybe he is very similar to that. Who knows? That's a good catch if it is, though, Sabeti. Okay, so what we had this episode, kind of the main mystery or main mission thing they had of the episode was with the doll, Eddie, or one of the Eddies. And as you were talking about, Ma, this Eddie stunk. And people were stinking. Eddie was stinking, and there was some type of film coming off of him. And we meet this guy who lost his wife, and he believes there's an entity, and he believes that entity is connected to
the doll.
Well, he doesn't know it's a doll at first. He just thinks there's an entity in the house. Yeah, but it seems we figure out that it's connected maybe to the doll because it's hurt his kid. It's a whole thing. And then we see that this doll is in multiple. There's dolls just like it in multiple places, such as where Lynn, the Kristen's eldest daughter, is babysitting, and she has an Eddie or a look-alike that is dressed like a clown. And once again, that's the little boy there says he's bigger than what he looks small, but he's actually bigger. Mm-hmm. And so we have a whole thing, right? The team goes there because Kurt, our therapist, asked, and we find out seemingly Kurt wants to write a book. So for those of us who were thinking maybe Kurt might, well, not us, y'all were saying Kurt might be in on trying to do something to Kristen. It seems like he's not. It seems like he's kind of just thinking, I want to write a book about them, not necessarily something nefarious with him. So I was happy to see that. I was almost worried when that entity shape came up to him that it was going to do something. So I'm kind of glad that it didn't really hurt him in the hallway, but that was a very scary moment. But yeah, lady, are you do before we go further, do dolls creep you out at all? And let me know in the chat, y'all. Do dolls creep y'all out?
Not really. No.
So you weren't, when it came to Chucky and Annabelle and stuff, you aren't creeped out by those movies?
Did you see me really want to watch Annabelle?
Well, not Annabelle, but what about Chucky?
Chucky, I watched because it was stupid.
Yeah. I always, out of the two, and this may or may not be a unpopular opinion, I actually think Annabelle is scarier than Chucky. Well, mainly because Chucky is a in-your-face kind of evil doll, while Annabelle, and I want to talk about this,
will be a true story.
Well, no, it's not that Annabelle. Well, Annabelle, yes, the first Annabelle is supposed to be a true story. So, but that's not what makes her creepy to me. What makes it creepy is the way Annabelle functions, which has a connection to what I think Eddie is. So in my opinion, Eddie is, it was spoken about, but just like Annabelle, if you know the in the Conjuring universe, one of my favorite horror universes, in the Conjuring, Annabelle is a doll, but she's not a doll, right? She's a conduit, right? Annabelle is a conduit. And what I mean by conduit is that she is a larger entity, kind of like the entity we saw in the hallway in this episode. And what really it is that there's an entity attached to the doll. And when you welcome the doll in, you're actually welcoming in the entity that really wants to take your soul. Annabelle gets moved around, but Annabelle isn't some doll that kind of comes to life and moves on her own. Annabelle is just basically, the doll itself is connected to a dark spirit, a demon, whatever you want to call it. But it's really just a conduit for the dark spirit. It's attached to the dark spirit. It's Annabelle herself. The doll does not come to life. And I think that's the same thing that's going on with Annie. That's the same thing that's going on here with Eddie. I don't think Eddie is a doll that we necessarily have to worry about, like Slappy from Goosebumps. Give it up for Slappy if you get that reference from the Goosebumps series. I don't think we have to worry about Eddie moving and coming to life and moving his lips, but I do think it's actually creepier because there's a thing connected to it that can, well, in the Annabelle situation, it tries to take your soul and stuff like that. And when you welcome the doll to live in the house with you and stuff, it's tricking you because what it is it's really a bigger entity. So I think that is what's happening with the Eddie situation. The thing that throws me off is that there's three of them, because with Annabelle, there's just one doll, right? And there's one entity that's usually connected to Annabelle. We have three different Eddies, and all three of them seem to have some sort of power, right? Like with,
and they're cracked the same way.
And they're cracked the same way. They're just dressed differently. The question is, where did Eddie come from? Now we saw, like, with the house that they went to, that Kurt had got them to go to because he needed help with a client. That doll definitely seems to have an entity connected to, because that entity tried to touch Kurt, right? And we see that Cheryl had her own Eddie that she had put away, but her Eddie was there. And then we had the Eddie in the sailor's costume that was connected, and the Eddie that was in the clown costume. So there's 3 of them. So does that mean there are 3 entities? That's the question. What's your theory about the lady? Do you think that makes sense when I'm saying that there is a larger, that is more of an Annabelle thing, and that there's some demons connected to these dolls? And do you think these dolls have any connection to Edward, the one that Cheryl was hanging out with today?
I think so. I think them two is connected with Eddie, because somehow the dolls have something to do with, something. I don't know what it is though.
Something to do with something. Okay.
The third doll, David and them got that doll.
Yeah. No, the dolls are all around. The question is, what power do they have? Because it's clear that little boy was scared about that doll.
They put in her
and now Cheryl has that one.
But you see how the parents was determined to get it back.
It seems like the parents might also know something. Do you think the parents know something?
How the father came and said, "I need a doll back."
They both came, but the question is, do you think the parents knew?
I think so too. And like I said, with the father too, you see how the father came back to him at the end and said, "Well, I need that doll back."
Yeah. So, but he kind of spoke to why he thought that, right? He was just like, listen, something's still happening, so I need to basically just give this doll what it wants.
Yeah, and same with the parents that came over to get. I needed, she really wanted that doll right then and there.
Yeah. But the question is, so that makes the question then is, if the doll gets taken away, does the haunting stop? But it doesn't seem to be the case, because the guy at the end with him. Well, the thing is, the guy came in at the end and was like, I need the doll back. So why need the doll back if the doll is attached to the thing, and once the doll leaves, unless that entity just stays where it stays? I don't know. It's a little confusing, but that's because we're not clear.
So, I'm like, huh? I didn't quite understand that.
Felix is saying, love evil doll movies. Yes, for sure. I think they're fun. I think they can be fun. So Betty's saying these dolls in particular are creepy. The ones with porcelain faces. Yes. Porcelain faces, old tiny dolls. Face. Yeah, they are definitely. I think there's a story that goes around. I think this is a viral story. I don't know if it ever. I think it comes around every year, where there was a woman who took a doll from a yard sale, and the doll was known to be like cursed or something, and bad stuff started happening to the family when they brought the doll in. That's another so-called true story, and the doll looked like one of those porcelain type dolls. Zen is saying, I'm not afraid of dolls, but when I was little, there was a movie that made me afraid of my baby doll. Porcelain dolls do look unnatural in a bad way and kind of creepy. Yeah. Yes. Joz, thanks for joining us in the chat, Joz. Joz is saying, and it's not just one doll, it's all the Eddie dolls, which is crazy. Exactly. What is going on? Why multiple dolls, right? Zen is saying, I like Kurt, but I'm glad David said no to that book about their work. When atheists write about faith, they always make believers look foolish, even in fiction stories. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Although I think Kurt may now be a believer, given his situation and what happened. I definitely think he might actually be a believer, which is funny. Let's see. So Betty is saying, when Cheryl set up the 3 dolls, she referenced the Holy Trinity. So it is one entity and 3 vessels. Perhaps you might be onto something. Zen is saying an evil Trinity. Huh? Well, she only had 2, right? She didn't have the third one. David and Ben still have the third one, the sailor costumed one. John is saying, I think maybe because it has to be set up as an altar and given things. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's really, gotta say I wasn't as completely satisfied with that plot line. Oh, is that my Wi-Fi? Sorry, guys. Because of what was going on with that, I wasn't completely satisfied with what was happening, because I didn't. And this is the thing about the show. You never always get all the answers. It can be very vague. And I felt like I didn't get all the answers that I wanted, especially with the doll. But I'm hoping maybe in this season finale, it gets explained. Yeah, maybe they'll explain what the heck little Eddie is and what the entity is. And I mean, I'd be disappointed if they don't, because I'm gonna be like, y'all gonna have to explain this Eddie stuff. Because why did Cheryl all of a sudden start worshiping this Eddie doll? Where is that coming from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, where did she end? But I think they did explain where she got. Did she explain where she got the doll from?
She didn't. She didn't explain. That doll just showed up.
Well, she did, and that's when her granddaughter said, where did you get the doll from?
Zen is saying, I think Kurt will explain away what happened the same way Kristen. He might say it was a break in reality, and he just, because he was around it and getting all into it. And yes, Betty, then they brought back the sigil stuff. Yes. I think that's also what we have to discuss as well. So we don't really know what happened with Eddie. All we know is that it stinks and there's probably some real entity attached to it, but we don't ever get any clear answers. We just know, as Jaws is saying, that there seems to be a thing where this thing wants to get praised and whatnot. Okay, sure, okay. So then we have the situation with Cheryl, which is sort of connected. This is what ends up it kind of comes full circle, because she has an Eddie doll, and she seems to kind of know in a way when she does the praising that this Eddie doll is the same Eddie maybe that she prays to, right? Which is fine. But I think, okay, so what did you think, Ma, of that whole thing with her and Edward and her having to do those tasks for him? What the heck do you think these tasks are about? Because they seem so random.
What do you mean, like the task?
The task. When Edward came to her and been like, you got to do 2 things for me, I'll give you 1 thing that's invaluable. What did you think of what he had her doing? I just thought that was so random. And once again, I don't know if they do this stuff to confuse us on purpose, because I'm like, what? I
didn't get that part. Okay, he's telling the man, well, you are losing business and all like that, and you're not listening to what I'm saying.
And he kept saying daffodil.
Yeah. And then when he said daffodil, that's when he told her to get up. And she just went up to him. And what was the point of smacking him?
I have no idea. And what was the point of going up to that other guy and doing the STD testing thing?
Yeah, unless he was trying to prove something or what. But it didn't make no. Why would you? And then why didn't the people question her coming into the meeting with him?
Exactly. No one asked, well, who is this? And why is she here?
And she was just playing with the crossword thing until she got done. That's when he said daffodils.
Yeah.
He said it again, and then that's when she got up. I mean, if somebody got up and started coming towards me, I'm trying to figure out, he's just said a word. What the hell did he just say that word for? And then she's coming towards me, looking at me, and you looking at her, and then she just slap you.
And then did they have sex in the elevator? I don't even know.
I don't even know if they had. Oh, no, he said he was going to take off something.
Take off her underwear. That's what he did. So I was just like, did they have sex? Like, what happened here?
I ain't get that either. I said, really? I said, really? For real? In the elevator?
Yeah. I didn't know. It was weird. And, there's actually a very good point being made in the chat where Zen is saying, I think he was testing her morality. What is she willing to do type of thing? I think you might be onto something with that, Zen. And Betty is saying the same thing. Maybe he just wants to see what he can get Cheryl to do.
Let her do a lot.
I think there's some truth. I do think there may be some truth to that, because in the end, he did give her sigil. He's like, this is my family sigil and you are my heir. And why Cheryl? Why is Cheryl the heir? Why? What is it that he's like, you're the person who's going to take on my entity, my sigil, right? I think that's very interesting. the thing is, we haven't talked extensively. The sigil situation with that map kind of took a back seat, right? We had the whole talk about the sigil for a little bit, and then it seems like our team, David, Ben, and Kristen, kind of dropped it in a way.
They stopped looking at it.
They stopped looking at it as much to figure out what the heck was going on with the sigil. They kind of just stopped for whatever reason. Life happens. But now the sigil's coming back into play. And we all know from like season 1, there was this whole talk about 60 souls coming from, with the whole near death. And so maybe that is still happening. So the question is Cheryl now one of the representatives of this army of demons now with the sigil? And why did Edward pick her? And it may be connected to what some of y'all are saying, where Edward picked her after Leland brought her to him, and he saw, okay, she's the one. She's going to be the one that's going to carry on my thing. Maybe it's the same thing Leland had to go through. If Leland is a human, right, and he might have had to go through the same thing with the manager that we heard about when Leland cut off the goat guy's head, maybe he too inherited someone else's sigil, right? And maybe that's how this happens. Maybe a demon picks a human person to carry on along the thing. I just don't know how that works and why Cheryl of all people. What has Cheryl been doing? It can't just be those two things, right? Let me see what some of you are saying. So Betty's saying, I felt like she was almost hypnotized in the elevator.
Me too.
Yeah, and it felt like she was almost hypnotized and also kind of like, okay, sure, let's do that. And I'm just like, what is happening with her? It's almost kind of creepy because part of me is like, yeah, Cheryl's a badass. But another part of me is like, is she in complete control here? Like,
I don't think so.
I don't know if she's in complete control. And that kind of gives it a creepy factor, especially if she's having sex with this guy. Because I'm like, is she in complete control that she wants to really be going through with some of this stuff with this dude? Jaws is saying the entity is also connected, related to Edward too, which is interesting. Peeping high hid it in plain sight, Eddie Edward. I think so too. I definitely think if his name is Edward, that could also just be a red herring that they want us to believe that. But if she really wants to connect, she really wanted to connect with Edward, right? And I think maybe Cheryl knows in a way that he's connected to Eddie. So I think that's interesting. And yes, he did say that it was the head of his great grandfather.
Yeah, you saw the head.
Yeah,
little head in there.
Jaws is saying it's all coming back to the main demon families in that sigil map. Exactly. So this is something. The sigil map is something that we kind of, put away on the back burner, but now it's coming back. And Cheryl, Kristen's mom, seems to be playing a major role in this. So I think that's also very interesting. Where this might go. But I do think there's something to do with, the question is, how did Leland get brought in? I don't think Leland is a straight up demon because we know he's not, because we know, as Kristen pointed out when she was embarrassing him constantly in season 1, that he used to be a regular guy who just kind of started worshiping Satan and stuff like that. So maybe he too inherited a sigil. And then Cheryl also inherited a sigil. Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe she heard about the sigil thing from Leland. Maybe Leland told her about what could happen and joining, and Cheryl was like, I'm cool with that. I want to do it too. Right?
Yeah,
and that's a very good point, Zen, where Zen is pointing out, now I'm wondering about David's dad, the artist. He too was painting with a particular sigil, right? There are different people. The cops that we remember from a couple episodes also had sigil tattoos. And that guy who made that show probably also had a sigil tattoo as well. What's going on? Was the guy that did the television show, is he also an inheritor of a demon sigil? What we see in a trailer for next episode is Cheryl's going to a party. And the question is, will we see a lot of familiar faces from people who we saw with sigil throughout the season? And maybe they all congregate in this upcoming battle. So I think there's a lot going on there. Because Leland has his own sigil. We know that, but we also know it's probably, I think his sigil is like the pig or something like that. Yeah. I remember that thing, his thing was a pig or whatever. And the question is, did he inherited that from someone? Just like Cheryl is inheriting hers from Edward. So that's my theory. But let me know, y'all, in the comment section and also in the live chat. Do you agree with that theory? Do you think it makes sense? And the question is, why have humans inherit the sigils? Why can't the demons just do it themselves? You know? But I think and the thing is, if you remember, when David and Kristen went to David's father's thing, stuff got weird there. David's father's, one of his wives, had a weird baby out in the cornfield, and Kristen just kind of left, and we never talked about it again. That she had some weird looking baby in the cornfield, and Kristen never brought it up. Hey, I'm sure Kristen just kind of dismissed it, saying that she was just, high or drunk, because they drunk some weird stuff. But the thing is, it happened. What's up with that? Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. Let's see what some of y'all are saying. Zen is saying, I don't think it runs in Cheryl's family. I think she was chosen. Cheryl can get to Kristen and Lexi in a way Leland would never be able to do. True. Yeah. But the question is, why did Cheryl pick this path? What made her want to do this? Where did we see that inkling to do that from? It's kind of 180, if you ask me. And that's why I guess I want to have some kind of scene where there's a conversation of why she's doing the things she's doing. A little bit of an insight into this character. So Betty is saying Cheryl couldn't get to Edward on her own. She had to bargain with Leland to gain access to him and then perform all these tasks. It's like the world's worst job interview. Maybe, because she did want to get to him. So, and maybe that was the whole thing with Leland being like, hey, let's join together and I can introduce you to somebody. And maybe Leland explained to her how he got brought in. And maybe that's what Cheryl was trying to get. She wanted to be brought in too. So that's how she got connected to Eddie. It makes sense when you stop and think about it, of course. But like I said, I still would like the show to kind of explain that. So I don't just I'm not just going through this theory and maybe I'm completely off about it. The other thing that happened this episode, which I really did appreciate, was a little bit more of a focus on David, because in the last couple episodes, he hadn't been really getting that focus because it was kind of in the background, the whole thing with his visions and stuff. But he has like a week or so until he becomes an ordained priest. And I really appreciated that debate and that, him really trying to think it through. He kind of was wondering, could I be okay with never having a wife and kids? Yeah. And, am I doing as much as I can do by being in the church? You had Sister Andrea on one side telling him, and Sister Andrea, we have to talk about her a little bit. She seems to have a really strong conviction that David is super important. And I know many of us have been talking about, who is Sister Andrea? Is she just a nun? Is she someone who has powers? Will that be revealed? Or does she just have really strong faith? But she seemed to really be telling David, it's like, you have to make this sacrifice in a way. This is what you need to do. Sorry, this is what your calling is. And then you had the pastor he was talking to, who was telling him, hey, you can be just as useful in the Baptist in this church. What did you think about that, Ma? What did you think about David's plot line and trying to figure out his faith and the conversation he had with the pastor?
Like when the sister asked him, do the pastor that's out, do he believe in the devil?
Yeah.
And when David was asking him why, what do you believe in? Do you believe that I guess he was asking him about the evil part. And when he said he enjoyed the the Catholic Church and all like that, but when it came down to the demonic and all like that, he didn't quite believe in that. He didn't believe that there was evil out there, like the devil. Because he was like asking, so you asked me if I believe in the devil. And he said, he asked him in a way, well, do you? And I don't think he really answered that.
Well, I think he did in a way. And I'm curious what y'all thoughts are on this, because I love stuff like that. I love that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Where I think, what the pastor is dealing with, it's very clear that his kind of church is an activism-centered church. And there is that debate. And when it comes to faith and religion, the whole idea of a more holistic approach of using your faith and even the organized religion to organize your community to deal with the here and now. We do know that the civil rights movement, a lot of that organizing, a good chunk of that organizing happened in Black churches. People were organizing and fighting against segregation and stuff, and were organizing in their churches to do it. And then you have other negative things with certain churches like homophobia and things like that is also prevalent in the Black community, unfortunately. And sometimes that's fueled by certain judgment within religion and stuff. But I think this guy, he's like, I want to use this I'm using my faith for what I can see.
Yeah.
And I feel like David's thing is more like, okay, that's fine, and the guy was saying, I see the devil when it comes to a kid getting shot or, the injustice in the system. But, and David's like, that's fine and dandy. But what about the other devil, the devil that possesses people, the demons that haunt people, the very tangible stuff? And the guy says, that's hocus, the hocus pocus. But David's like, if you call that hocus pocus, aren't you calling God hocus pocus? You can't. And, the guy says, are you telling me I can't believe in God without believing in the devil?
Why not? But he exists. The evil is out there. So
what David was telling him or asking him was saying basically, because the guy was saying he doesn't believe in a devil with horns and a pitchfork and stuff like that. He believes in evil and the injustice that men do, sort of kind of a thing. And David's issue is saying that's fine and dandy, but there is an actual physical devil and demons and stuff. And the pastor, didn't really seem to be, I guess the pastor's kind of like, that's not what you can really, that's not where he's putting his energy. And I feel like David is very much attached to what him, Ben, and Kristen do when they go to houses and people and help people like that. I think he really wants to do that. And I think he sees his only way of doing that through the Catholic Church. And I think that's his conundrum. I feel like if he thought he could do it without necessarily being a priest and could also still help people with exorcisms and things like that, he'd be okay to do it. But because he thinks that's his only way to do it, I feel like that's what keeps him there almost. Because like he said, he's like, you don't do these things that I want to do. Like he even left because he's like, this young guy just almost cut off his arm because he thought a demon was doing it. So that's not what you address. I want to address that, And what do you think about that, Ma? Let me know in the comments, y'all. Who did you think was kind of in the right in that debate? Do you think David had a point, or do you kind of agree with the pastor?
In a way, it's even, because in a way, the pastor, like he was saying, like you said, to him, evil is when a young boy get killed, or evil is when you're trying to fight the system and not get our voting rights and all like something like that. That's his evil. That's how he see the devil. In a way, in a sense, that's how he see the devil.
How he thinks the devil manifests.
The devil is, and how it's,
that is not necessarily exorcisms or satanic possessions. It's in the very system. Yeah.
But what David see, in order to get all that, you have to be possessed by something. Something's trying.
Well, no, I don't think he thinks it's either or. I think he just thinks that it's that, it's the injustice, but there's also very much people being possessed by the devil and demons in people's houses. I think he thinks it's both. And I think he's getting that the pastor thinks it's the other thing. And that's why he thinks it falls short. So the question to you, lady, do you believe in possessions? Yes or no? And let me know in the chat, y'all. What do y'all think?
Do I believe? Don't really know.
Okay. Well, let's see what y'all are saying in the chat.
No.
Okay, well, let's see what y'all are saying in the chat. Felix is saying Cheryl will kill Edward. She is his heir. Okay, that's a very bold one, Felix. And you might be right. Maybe that's what has to happen. Maybe in order to take his spot, she has to do that. Jaws is saying the pastor, definitely answered David and saying to him, the devil is racism and justice, etc., but not all that Hollywood movie type of evil. Yeah. Felix saying to take his place as an influencer in terms of Cheryl and Edward. Let me see. Sabetti is saying, I do believe in exorcisms and possessions and things. And Jaws is saying David and the pastor were right. And Zen is saying, I think those are symptoms of evil, the cause of evil. And Zen is saying, yes, I do believe. Or Zen was saying, I think those are the symptoms, not the cause of evil. And John's saying, I'm on the fence. What do I think?
I
think it can be both. I think the human mind is a wondrous place that we haven't even, and science haven't even figured out what consciousness is and things. So I do think there are things that we can convince ourselves are happening, but I think we don't know if outside entities can take hold of someone's body. I mean, the son of Sam thought that a dog was talking to him, but we know they could have been demons talking through the dog to him. Who's to say, right? People just, wrote him off as crazy, but maybe he was possessed. There's a lot of ways of looking at that. And I do think that there's truth in some of the supernatural and stuff, but I also agree with the pastor in saying that more oftentimes than not, you can deal with the here and now. You can deal with the things that you can see. Mm-hmm. And some of those things are injustice. Some of those things are racism. You can fight against those evils. I'm reminded of, Martin Luther King Jr., of course. They had the whole movement in the churches of fighting against segregation and stuff. That was considered a moral ill. Then you have currently Reverend Barber and Reverend Theo Harris, who are leaders of the Poor People's Campaign, Reverend Barber is going to meet the Pope, having a Vatican meeting, a Black leader, a Black church leader, and he's going to be talking about the evils of capitalism, the evils of society, because he believes that's the proper wording. I agree too. So I think you can do both. I think David is in a little bit of a conundrum because he wants the Catholic Church to do both almost. Yeah. But he has his hands tied. And so I feel like he leans a little bit more towards, okay, you're doing this stuff about the injustice and stuff. I can also help through the things of the more overtly supernatural, And Josh is saying, this is why David loves doing what he's doing, this question conversation here. Exactly. Yeah. So, but it seems like he's heading towards doing the ordaining, but we also know that might be something powerful, and there are probably people that don't, on the evil side, that don't want David to be ordained. Yeah, right. So, I thought it was funny when the guy was like, when the pastor said to him, "Are you mad that you might not ever be the Pope?" And David was like, "Well, who knows? That might not be true." And he's like, "They ain't gonna let you be the Pope. You Black. You ain't getting that, my dude.
No, not getting that far."
That's very funny. And who knows?
Italians are not going to let you be Pope.
Let a Black man be Pope, but good luck.
Hey, you never know, though.
And then we had a conversation with David and Kristen, which was very sweet. Kristen seems to be in a better mood, probably because of the exorcism. Now, we don't know. Maybe it was the placebo of the exorcism. Maybe it was just her not being on all those drugs anymore. The jury's still out because they kept it very vague, as evil likes to do here. So, she seemed to be seeing more clearly with David. And it was very interesting when they both asked, David's like, do you think we would have been in love? And she said, yeah, but she was like, you need to become a priest. And that was, whether you ship them or not, I think it was bittersweet almost, and I definitely don't think it's the end of them, because this is only season 2, right? It's definitely not the end of them. And I've said my theory before that even if David becomes a priest, I think give it a couple of seasons, he'll probably leave the priesthood on some bigger circumstances or whatever. So I don't think it's completely done for them, but I did think that was a beautiful scene. What did you think, lady?
I thought so too. That was nice. They did the what ifs.
Yeah. And I think they both understand the deep connection that the two of them seem to have. Yeah. And that's kind of funny, though, because she can admit, yeah, we would have been in love. But yeah, I'm going to stay with my husband. It's kind of like Andy's kind of second choice, where she's just like, well, I can't have David, but I like this too. Consolation prize. Josh is saying, oh, my God, that conversation between them. Right. It was something. Zen is saying Leland doesn't want David to be ordained, so it must come with some spiritual power that Leland doesn't want him to have. Probably. Yeah, and I think that's why Sister Andrea is also, maybe she senses that. And it's kind of like if you're a believer and you believe the whole question of Jesus, right? And I'm sure at some point when Jesus was told that he was going to die when he was 35 or 33, I think it was 33. I think he was 33 when he supposedly died. He probably wouldn't have liked that either, hearing that, right? That he had to kind of do that. And I think maybe there's a parallel with David there, knowing that what you have to do is so much bigger than yourself. So certain things that you might want, that quaint, nice, normal life, it's just not something you're going to be allowed because you have bigger fish to fry almost. Yeah. So I thought that was something. Zen is saying Christian's married with 4 kids. I don't think they would have fallen in love. Well, then Kristen and David think they would have fallen in love. So, I mean, who knows? The writers made a point to point it out. Jaws is saying, I'm seeing a divorce for Kristen and him somehow leaving the priesthood as well, at least by season 4, so they can be together. I think it's happening down the line. And I think they're setting that there to kind of have this love story kind of play out for them, even when it can't happen. Yeah, I think that's where it's going to. So Betty is saying, I love that scene. It felt right when she said, get ordained. Yeah, she seems to be seeing way clearer. Christian seems to be in a better headspace. So, and wow, what did you think of the fact that Leland was trying to somehow join David and Ben and Kristen on their excursions?
He was trying to get rid of Kristen.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, he was trying to get rid of Kristen because he said she don't believe like I'm like, huh? He was trying to talk the other guy into letting Kristen go, but he was telling him, no, we need a different aspect on things like this. But he was trying to get rid of Kristen and join the group.
Why do you think Leland was doing that?
Maybe because he don't want him. Well, he want to be closer to David, and he didn't somehow. Because he always been trying to get closer to David, so he won't get ordained. That's why. See, it's just so confusing. I know he don't. From the beginning, that's all you saw him like. He's trying to stop him from doing this, or trying to push him towards Kristen, or something like that. Saying, "Tell him you got feelings for her," and all like that. It's just like I said, it's confusing. Not quite explaining everything.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Why would Leland now want to join the team? And yeah, it could be, as being said in the thing, that, Leland just wants to sabotage and Leland likes to be a pain. But it's kind of like, why all this energy on them? Doesn't he have bigger fish to fry? Why all this energy for David?
But maybe David is supposed to receive something. Maybe he's the one that they're talking. Maybe he could be the one to stop the 60 souls from coming in.
I think you're right on that. I think there's definitely a bigger thing at play here.
To do with that, because he said 60 souls. So if David is into that, and because David drew, I think David could be the one to stop them from coming in all the way.
Yeah, maybe. What's his thing? When will God give him another vision? Because God, maybe that's when. Maybe we'll finally get. Maybe if David gets ordained, he might actually get a new vision because it's been silent for a bit, right? So maybe that might be a thing.
I think so too. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things at play here. So, lady, what are your predictions for the way the season finale is gonna go? Where is all this leading? Is it leading to one particular thing? Do you think all of this is connected, or do you think this is like separate plot lines that need to kind of get tied up?
Well, what they showed from the finale, it looks like it's making you more confused in a sense. But that's the question here. When we see this, will he be getting ordained, or will something else stop it? Because you see so many things happening in that episode coming up. And the man was drinking a beer.
Well, I think priests can drink, so I'm not.
He was in the robe, but was that before or after he got ordained?
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on there. So I predict this way. I'm praying that they don't leave us in a cliffhanger of, how you getting right there when he's getting ready to be ordained, then something happens and it just goes off. and have you thinking, what the hell is? Then just have that just make me mad because then till I had to wait till it come back on again. I'll be wondering what the hell happened here.
So the question is, do you think David's going to go through it being ordained? What do y'all think? Let me know in the chat and also in the replay.
I hope he do go through being ordained because I think it's really important because I think the sister knows something because she don't want him to get hurt or anything, but something's going to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that he do get ordained. That's my prediction. He's going to get ordained.
Think he's going to go through with it. Do you think he'll get a vision?
I think so before the night is, before that thing happens. I think it's going to come there. But like I said, it's going to leave us in a cliffhanger.
Mm. Johns is saying Leland is like Team Rocket and wanting to capture Ash and Pikachu. LOL, just obsessed with following them. That's a Pokemon reference for those of you. That's a deep cut Pokemon reference. We appreciate it. Zen is saying Leland worships the devil. He wants to destroy other people's faith in God. And I get that. The question is why? I mean, there's a lot of priests trying to get ordained, though. David's not the only person who's a priest trying to get ordained. I mean, there's plenty. So it's like, why such a attitude towards David? Zen is saying also, I hope David is ordained, but I believe something is going to happen to Sister Andrea. I think something's going to happen to Sister Andrea too, unfortunately. But the question is, who is Sister Andrea? What's going on with her? How does she know? How does she sense what she senses with David? And are things going to be a lot more overtly political? Felix is making their prediction. David will be ordained. Cheryl will go through with something satanic at the same time. I could see that, Felix. I definitely could see there being a parallel thing of the two of them, with maybe Cheryl's going to become the big bad. Maybe Leland has just been kind of the pre-dessert, right? Maybe Cheryl's set to be the big bad. That'd be crazy. Could you imagine David, Kristen, and Ben having to go up against Kristen's mom? Kind of perfect storyline wise, but also kind of sad because we like Cheryl too. I think she went off the deep end, but I think she's a great character. And I agree, Sabeti. I don't want anything. Sabeti saying no, not Saint Andrea. I agree. I don't want anything to happen to her, but I kind of feel like maybe she'll sacrifice herself so that David can go through with it. But I also agree with y'all, like John's saying, I hope not. I'm so intrigued with Sister Andrea. I am too. I'm intrigued with all of these characters. Also, I want Kurt to stay around, Sister Andrea, even Leland. I want more of the backstory with Edward. There's a lot.
Yeah, tie up some loose ends for us.
Right. And that is what I was just about to say. In terms of my prediction, I just hope stuff is tied up. I need them to give some. I just want to walk away from the finale with a few concrete answers. Because I don't think that we have some concrete answers. We don't know Cheryl's motivation. We don't know Leland's end game, even with David and everything. And those are kind of two outstanding things. And this whole thing with Eddie, but that's connected to Cheryl. And those are very outstanding things. Even the situation with Lexi, what's going on with Lexi? I mean, was she infused with some type of demonic DNA? What happened to Kristen's 12th egg? What's going on with her 12th egg? There's a 12th egg out there somewhere. Where did it go? There's a lot of loose ends, and I'm gonna need, out of like the 6 to 7 loose ends we got, that they at least answer 3 to 4 of them at the end of this season. I can honestly say, y'all, and y'all know, as much as I love Evil, I gotta be real with it, because I haven't really given them low grades, but I probably will give them a low grade for the season finale if they don't tie up some of this stuff. I'm sorry. At this point, it's got to tie up stuff. You can't keep adding things and you haven't addressed some stuff. We're in the end of the second season at this point.
That's true.
Yeah. So Betty is saying, yes, answer like one question, right? Like, can we get one question answer? One of them. I'll take one.
I just want to know what y'all put in that woman's body.
Right? Like, what was the stuff going into her body? Who is Eddie? What's going on with the thing? Something. Y'all got to answer something for us. Zen is saying Kristen has a very sketchy mom. She does. John's is saying, I need season 4 to be more overt with the supernatural elements. After 2 seasons of subtle hints, they can't keep dragging it like this. And Jaws actually means season 3. Yes, agree. And yes, I think they do want to make sure we watch season 3, as Zen is pointing out. But I mean, for me, I'm the kind of person is, if you tell me a good story, and even if you conclude it, that'll make me want to come back because I know you can follow through. Now, if you keep putting stuff in the air and I just starting getting frustrated, that might make me be like, listen, you gotta be
alone.
Yeah. You gotta start helping me out here, because I don't like to walk away from my TV screen frustrated every episode. But yeah, y'all, that's pretty much the gist of D is for Doll. A lot of good stuff. Hopefully we get some answers, as Sabeti is pointing out. Yes, tell us what they infuse Cheryl with. What's going on? Did that give her powers? Why is she drilling guys' head in for Leland?
Made her I don't know.
I don't know why she was drilling dudes and killing them. They never explained that either.
Yeah, nobody don't come up with somebody got killed.
Yeah, why is she killing people? It's just weird. And as Zen points out, we still don't know what's going on with Ben's girlfriend. That was 2 episodes ago. Is she 2 people? Is she possessed? Tell us something, y'all. So yeah, overall, guys, I'm loving it. I'm confused. But I am also just kind of like, where are we going? And this is the season finale. So you got to tie something up, and it can't just be David getting ordained. Like, you got to tie up the other stuff y'all been talking about. Yeah. Exactly, Sabeti.
I agree with you.
She was drilling dudes' head in. She was killing people, I think. And so what's going on with that? Cheryl was killing people. So yeah, y'all, let me know. Let me know in the comment section what your theories are for season finale. Where do you think we're heading? What do you hope to see in season 3? What do you want to see more of? Do you want to see more overt supernatural stuff? Do you like this kind of, some stuff is vague, some stuff is overt? And what do you think could improve in season 3? If anything, maybe you think it's perfect the way it is, but what do you think could improve season 3? So let's, think on that as we marinate and as we keep our fingers crossed that we get some answers in the season finale, y'all. But once again, thank you all for joining us. If you haven't already, please give this video a like, a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. And until next time, stay safe. Have a great rest of your week. I am doing Why the Last Man, but I actually think I might have to move the episode to next week because I did not catch this episode yet. As you know, I'm a full-time film and TV critic, so I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I review. I had some articles due, so my bad. But thank you for joining us here. And until next time, stay safe and don't get any weird dolls.
You won't get no weird doll.
Yeah, don't get any weird dolls.